Hey my beautiful bitches, it's me, Fiona St. James, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Fiona's Coffee Talks. Thank you so much for being here with me, and don't forget to subscribe. And remember, I always like to start off every morning with a fresh, hot, black cup of coffee. Hold the cream! I'd love to. Coffee and Kahlua, the best way to kickstart a day in my all-time favorite coffee mug, with the quote of the century by Oscar Wilde, life is too important to be taken seriously. So remember folks, lighten up, laugh, it's all good, it's good for the soul. So, today's topic is retail. I worked in retail for about 25 years. Got my start back in 1992. At that point, I had been doing the massage world for probably 6 years, and I thought, okay, I want to switch things up or add something to my repertoire of what I did. So a friend of mine hooked me up to working at Bloomingdale's. Hey, Ken. And I became the resident makeup artist for Elizabeth Arden. I had never worked in retail before, but having done female impersonating, I knew about makeup. So when I went on the interview, I showed her my portfolio of me dressed in drag, and she was like, "You're hired." So, and that was sort of the start of it for me. You know, the good news is when you freelance in cosmetics and fragrances, you don't work for the actual store, you work for the vendor. So, you know, you still have to adhere by the rules. I was registered trained, got the discount, all of that good stuff, but your paycheck comes from the actual company that you work for. So I was at them for a while. Then I also started freelancing in fragrances, and then branched out to other stores. I worked at Saks, Macy's, Bergdorf's, Barney's, but Bloomingdale's was the first store I worked at, and that was really like my home base. Apart from the fact that it was easy for me to get to from where I was living, it was also, you know, you always go back to where you started from. And I mean, retail, I love it. It had its purpose for me. It is what I refer to as a thankless job, because unfortunately, you are only as good as your last sale. So like, you can have an amazing day or an amazing week and your business is up and they love you, but a week later when your business plummets, they hate you. And then suddenly they're like, you suck. So, but you know, it was wonderful for the years that I did it. The most important thing for me, or the best thing for me, I should say, is all of the friends that I made. You know, like I have lifelong friends that I've known from working in Bloomingdale's. Hey, Sapara, Miss Mackie, Baby Doll, Transy, Senorita Fuertes, my favorite people. So those friends that I made that were, and Maxie, hey girl, those friends that I made working there that still are friends, they're going to be in my life whether I work there or not. So I was doing the whole freelancing thing, then I ended up becoming the business manager for Jean-Paul Gaultier Issey Miyake. I'd been with them for like 5 years. I was the manager the last year. And you know, those fragrances were great, but then I ended up leaving because then that's when I booked the part on Oz, the HBO Dramatic Prison series where I played the resident tranny. So then, you know, in between seasons, I'd go back, I'd freelance. So that's the beauty of freelancing. You make your own schedule. You work when you want. If you don't want to work, you don't. So especially if you're an actor or model or have other things going on, it's an ideal situation to be in. You know, you set your own schedule, you do it if and when you want. So, but yeah, you know, it had its moments. You know, the customer is not always right. So there was a lot of dealing with sometimes irate customers. That didn't happen too often, and I, for the most part, loved my customers. I did later on, Lady Gaga came out with a fragrance, so I was the manager for that, and that was a lot of fun. It unfortunately didn't do very well, so I ended up being with them maybe like 9 months before it like merged with Coty, and then it ended up eventually being pulled out of the store. And then the last company that I worked for, like on a not full-time, but on a steady basis, was Jean Patou. They have a fragrance, Joy, Classic Joy, which came out 1929, and it smelled more like 1829. If I could keep it real, it was in my opinion, didn't smell very good. It was, you know, that very specific style of fragrance that was so prominent back then where, you know, it almost kind of smelled like an old rotten crotch where they took baby powder and tried masking it with that. So it, you know, except not as fresh, frankly. But, you know, it had its following. It was predominantly older, rich white women that wore it. You know, the demographic was, I'd say, anywhere between like 65 years old and death, frankly. A lot of them in their wheelchairs or their walkers or their canes with their nurse's aid. But, you know, God loved them because everyone has their own cup of tea and there's always something for someone. And the fragrance did well, you know, it had its following. I don't think the younger people or the newer, you know, the newer fragrance customers necessarily went in that direction, because in this day and age, it's always much more about the lighter, fresher, cleaner, citrusy, you know, and that was such an old school way of thinking. You know, back then a lot of the fragrances followed that same formula. So God love him. I was with them probably a couple of years, but then I wasn't, and I don't even know that it's still sold in Bloomingdale's anymore. Because I stopped working there about 2.5 years ago, and I know that they say you should never say never, but I can honestly say that I would never want to go back to retail, because apart from the fact that I'm an old bitch, being on those floors takes its toll, and you know, I've moved on in my life to other things. Nothing wrong with it. Retail is great. So viewers, you tell me, how many of you out there work in retail? You know, do you love it? Do you not love it? Have you seen the changes? Because the 25 years that I did it, it definitely, when I started doing it, it was a place where, you know, in the cosmetics and fragrance division, where you had a lot of aspiring actors and models, and so people were doing that sort of on the side to supplement their income. And I don't know if that's the case so much anymore. I mean, it is, I think, to a certain degree, but you know, retail just is, let's put it this way, it's not as fun as it used to be. You know, and I think what happens is these stores saturate these events. Like I remember the first Shoppers Night that they had back in like maybe 1994 was such a huge to-do. And it was like the first time they did it, then they did it again a year later. Now I think they do it quarterly. So it's always where, like, if you're working there, they always like, call your customers, pre-sale, and then, you know, the customer can get sick of you bothering them every minute to buy something. I mean, how much fragrance do they need? They don't need to restock every other minute. So that, I think that's where retail suddenly wasn't fun anymore, because then suddenly it became all this pressure. And you know, when you're competing with things like online shopping, where you can get it a lot cheaper, why would you pay full retail value and when you could save money? And plus in this day and age, you know, you go to Amazon for everything, so you don't even have to leave the house. But anywho, it served its purpose for me. I loved it. I have nothing bad to say about it. I'm glad I don't do it anymore. But you guys tell me, do it, you love it, you don't love it, you're sick of it, you have any funny stories to tell? Let's have a dialogue. Okay guys, so again, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, laugh, life is too important to be taken seriously. And always put a splash of Kahlua in your coffee, because then that way just makes the day so much better. Alrighty, love you guys.